Countdown to Mecca. 855-407-2882 is the phone number. Let's move on to the big topic of military arms for police. Daniel on WMAL, fire away. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Michael. At the end of the day, I listen to your sardonic wit, and you make my day. Things are so exasperated psychologically where I live. You're great. Thank you. Keep it up. Military. I don't believe they should have, the local police should not have any sort of military-type weapons. They should be kept with the military. Local police should be local, answerable to the local population.
Well, I understand the argument from both sides, but after seeing what happened in Baltimore, where the police were disarmed by the state prosecutor who sent them in without helmets and without body armor, they became powerless. How would our local police protect themselves from gangs armed with AK-47s unless they have armored personnel carriers, for example? Now, I understand that many people on the patriotic side are afraid of a militarized local police force or forces because they fear that they could be turned against patriots. I understand. Is that where you're coming from?
Yes, sir, but also, there's 150 million, at least 100 million people who are armed to the teeth. Many of them lower middle class people who work hard, pay their taxes, never been in trouble with the law. They know how to use their firearms. They can easily be deputized. Why this never has been done before.
Deputized by whom?
Pardon? Whoever needs them.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of hokum pokum out there. I see it on the internet. Every time something happens, the trolls go out and say everyone should carry if they had guns. You know, it's easy to say that, but getting in a shootout is a little different than shooting your mouth off on the internet. And so I'm not so sure that the average citizen can be deputized and be useful in anything, frankly. I don't know that they'd be useful for anything whatsoever. Many people who have guns don't even know how to shoot them. And number two, I think that they could hurt themselves more than hurt the bad guy. So I'm not into deputizing the average citizen. I believe the police are highly skilled and highly trained for a good reason. Because when that time comes for them to pull that gun, they have a split second to make a decision in which not only is their life at stake, but the life of others. And it's only because of this incessant target practice that the police are forced to go through that they often do kill the bad guy first. And I don't think the average citizen is at all capable of getting involved in such a shootout with bad people, period. End of story. 855-407-2882. Let's go to KSFO Radio in my hometown of San Francisco. Line number 7, welcome to the program. What's on your mind? Daryl, are you there?
I'm here. I was calling about the marijuana comments. However, the last caller makes me want to talk about that since I'm a police officer and a patriot.
Well, go either topic. Just fire away as quickly as you can.
Well, one of the arguments is patriots don't want the police to be militarized. Well, I'm a police officer and a patriot. I'm a Gadsden-waving police officer who believes in the Second Amendment and would never take away someone's guns without due cause. I would be the first one to stand up against anyone trying to do that, even as a police officer. So that justification there, that argument doesn't work for me.
But so are you for or against what Obama did yesterday with the stroke of a pen taking away military equipment from local police? I thought it was outrageous for him to do that in light of what happened in Baltimore and Ferguson. I think the police need military weaponry, especially since the gangs are so heavily armed. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree, and it's not military weaponry. It's an armored vehicle that's used to protect us. It's a 37 or 40 millimeter launcher that's used for gas deployment or less lethal beanbags. It's not a tank. It's not a bomb.
So why would Obama do this other than to weaken the police in America? You know that that's what he did it for.
Absolutely.
He did it only to weaken local police because there's a movement within his cadre of hardcore communists to nationalize the police force and turn them into one corrupt gigantic federal police force along the lines of the corrupt Mexican federales. And if that's what you want in America, that's what this gang is trying to achieve. Make no mistake about it. This is a criminal administration. And by coming down against military equipment for local police, he's doing that for one reason only. And that's to weaken the local police and strengthen the idea of a national police force. That is my assessment.
And we would never stand for that, Michael. As a local police officer, we would never allow anyone to come in and take over our country like that.
Let me explain something. I have in my family members of the police. And one of them went to Germany a few years ago on a vacation, young guy, and he went and studied the rise of Nazism and especially how they came to power, despite the fact that most police in Germany hated the Nazis. People don't know that. Most of the police in Germany were not Nazis. They hated the Nazis initially. But through a series of events, Hitler, in his mad, brilliant genius, was able to co-opt local police like you, step by step, bill by bill, and eventually turn the local police into Nazis who did his bidding from a national or federal level. Any police who opposed him were thrown into concentration camps. So it's not as easy as saying you wouldn't do it. There are powers that a madman can use that are awesome. And you should be aware that this madman is starting that process of deballing the local police in America. How far it will go is anyone's guess. It is very worrisome, though, as far as I'm concerned.
And I want you to keep us informed so that never happens.
No, and you know what? I think that I owe it to my audience, since I initiated this topic, to show you step by step how Hitler co-opted the police in Germany who opposed him initially in the early 30s, because it was done step by step. My good friend, I'll send you a copy of Countdown to Mecca. It did very, very well the first week. I got the first results from my publisher. I ask all of my audience to please use social media to send out a tweet or whatever you do and tell them to go to any local bookstore and demand to see Countdown to Mecca right up front where it is supposed to be. That brings us to 44 minutes after the hour. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Hey, our Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust for wealth insurance, gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN. We have covered a lot of topics today, very political, and apparently the potheads won't give up on the marijuana issue. Paul, on KSFO, make your point. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Michael. I've been smoking pot for like 50 years. I don't think it's rotted my brain any. I'm the author of 5 scholarly nonfiction books that are in college.
I understand. So that means you're an intelligent man. So would you listen to reason and the evidence or not?
Yeah, well, I have not looked at the evidence concerning the carcinogens in marijuana smoke. I will definitely take a look at that.
Well, let me give you a short version. If you compare, as researchers have done, marijuana smoke with tobacco smoke, you will find that several toxic compounds, including ammonia and hydrogen cyanide, are at higher levels than in tobacco smoke. For example, ammonia levels were 20 times higher in the marijuana smoke than in the tobacco smoke, while HCN, nitric oxide, and certain aromatic amines occurred at levels 3 to 5 times higher in the marijuana smoke. So this is not an ethical or a moral issue, it's a medical issue. But aside from that, I want to make my position quite clear. I'm against incarcerating people for using marijuana. I'm against the legalization of marijuana because it sends the wrong message to children. And also, scientists who know this field very well, including the genius of geniuses, Raphael Mechoulam at Hebrew University, if you want to research what he has to say, agrees with this position because he said it has very damaging effects on developing brains. So you yourself may be, let us say, capable of ingesting marijuana very successfully and thinking very clearly, but that doesn't apply to everybody, Paul. There are people, for example, who can eat junk diets, smoke and drink, and live to 95. Most of us can't. You just may have the genetics to be different, Paul.
Yes, but let me just make one more point. It's possible to eat cannabis, to take it orally, okay, in which you will avoid all of these...
Yeah, I understand that. I'm talking about marijuana smoke, but again, we go back to the difference between recreational use of cannabis as opposed to the medicinal use of cannabinoids. I'm totally in favor of the miracles that are being... the miraculous cures that are being reported from various cannabinoids and various illnesses, but I still believe that marijuana smoke or marijuana itself, whether it's smoke or not smoke, damages the thinking and damages the brain. Obviously not in your case.
I might be the exception that proves the rule. And thank you, by the way, for your enlightened
We're not arguing. We're really discussing. That is the difference between educated people and uneducated people, I think, Paul. Let me send you. I wish I could send you a report on this, but you could research this. I'm going to send you my novel, which I'm sure when you're stoned you'll enjoy reading, Countdown to Mecca. Apparently it's better on marijuana than on alcohol. Actually, when you think about it, you can't even read when you're drunk. When you think about that one, marijuana, people who smoke dope generally read more, I think. Am I mistaken about that? I don't know whether they watch cartoons or read books, but there's no question in my mind that people who drink alcohol generally don't read books. No question about that one. Yeah. Now, the militarized police issue. Obama took away certain equipment from the police. Listen to clip 5. It's a very important one. It's only 30 seconds. Listen carefully.
Today, we're also releasing new policies on the military-style equipment that the federal government has in the past provided to state and local law enforcement agencies. We've seen how militarized gear can sometimes give people a feeling like there's an occupying force as opposed to a force
people, you mean rabble?
That's protecting them and serving
What a lying
alienate
snake.
And intimidate local residents.
Come on with the alienation. You alienate this country every day when you open your filthy trap.
For the battlefield that is not appropriate for local police departments.
What would you know about the battlefield? Tell me what you know about the battlefield with ISIS raging through the Middle East. An expert now on the battlefield. He was golfing while ISIS was taking another city. Your commander-in-chief, that phony. You want your cops going out with those animals in the streets with machine guns, with no equipment and no armored personnel carriers? Why don't you go out there, all you good liberals? You idiots, you morons, as your city burning, you're sitting here supporting the animals who are burning your cities down, and you're attacking the police who would protect you, you stupid idiots. That's a product of 20 years of pot smoking and reading the wrong books. Why don't you put down your red brigades and pick up your red, white, and blue? Idiots, morons! Stephen on WBOB, you'll have the last word on the Savage Nation. Fire away.
How you doing, Dr. Savage? I'm an inner city police officer here in Jacksonville. I like to comment on the militarization of the police. Liberals have it all wrong. We don't drive around here in tanks and armored car carriers on every call that we go to. The armored carriers, they're used for certain situations, like in Baltimore and Ferguson, like they should be used. What I would be more concerned with
Obama didn't seem to care when cops were getting killed over the last few weeks because of his filthy rhetoric, and him of Al Sharpton and Eric Holder. There's an epidemic of cop killings because of these gangsters.
I agree. I would be more concerned that they're not allowing the local police to handle local issues, and they're having military presence. What's more concerning, the police doing their job protecting people or having the military standing by?
That's what I'm saying. Obama is right now running the JADE exercise in Texas. It was over a few days ago, of putting Marines inside American towns and cities and practicing interning civilians who are opposed to the government. At the same time, he is defanging the local police. You put 2 and 2 together, and you may come up with ADOLPH. I'm Michael Savage. Thanks for listening.